Well, howdy, partners. Welcome to the Calvary Chapel Salmon podcast. You might be wondering why I said howdy for the greeting of this podcast. Well, I said howdy because our guest today sometimes says that. Our guest today is Kaitlyn Minor. Welcome to the podcast, Kaitlyn.
Howdy, guys. Thanks
Well,
for
there
having
you go.
me.
Kaitlyn, it's so good to have you here. Where did you just come from? Have you been here for a while? Or
No, I got here Tuesday. I graduated Bible college 2 weeks ago Friday, so that was exciting. Did my 10 months there.
Cool.
Got out,
The
yeah.
Bible college down in California.
Yes, Calvary Bible Institute, CBI.
Cool.
So followed in Jordan's footsteps.
I was going to say, what was your inspiration of going there, Kaitlyn?
I graduated high school
And by that, you mean homeschooled, right? Just
Okay.
to be clear.
I did all of my courses. I got my homeschool degree, walked across my back porch.
Yeah. I was going
And-
to say, did you have like a little ceremony?
Yeah, we walked across my back porch and I turned the tassel and
Wow.
that kind of stuff. Yeah.
You
So
go.
Good.
Your dad was your principal. Your
yeah,
mom was
yeah.
your
They
teacher.
had shirts made that my dad's had one that said homeschool principal. My mom said.
Did they really?
Yeah, they did.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So anyways,
That's cool, Kaitlyn.
I was wondering what I was gonna do after I graduated, and I was kind of wondering about Bible college. And I originally was like, I'm not going to CBI. That's crazy. And so then I was going to go to a different one. But that one doctrinally didn't really line up with what I was believing and all that kind of stuff. Just had no peace about it. Tried to just move past that and filled out the application. I physically just could not. And so then I was like, I didn't want to go to CBI because I was like, I'm not doing ministry. That's silly.
Yeah.
But then I actually started getting more involved here. And that was a super huge blessing. And I realized I actually love ministry and that's something that I want to do. And so then I toured CBI, felt just like a peace like I've never ever felt before in my life. And once my parents got on board with me going to California, I applied, got in, and went there. So it's good.
Wow.
That's awesome.
I remember it being a little bit of a fight with your parents. Were they a little
Yeah.
nervous about California?
Yeah, they were, because we moved to Idaho from North Carolina for political reasons and just to have like that kind of thing. And so then they're like, you are going to California and it's crazy there.
The
and
belly of the beast.
Yeah, yeah. And so they were not super happy with it, but they recognized that was what the Lord was calling me to do. And you guys came over and convinced them that it wasn't the worst place in
Yes.
the world. So that was good. But it was a super huge blessing. And I'm going back to California a little bit too.
yeah.
So,
So you spent 10 months in California.
Yeah.
And you're not a liberal?
No, I made it
Okay.
out. Yeah.
Sheesh.
Lord's power.
Yeah. Well, hey, you're not gay either.
No.
Okay.
Yeah, that's
Good.
it didn't happen there. So
So
praise
do
the
you
Lord.
think you made the right decision as far as which Bible college to go to?
Yes.
Okay.
Hagen's still reeling from that one.
Oh,
I can't believe you said that.
Yes, I did. It was a great time, and just
Yeah.
the way that the whole setup and how they have you learning about the Bible, but also serving, and just that fellowship that you have there is just really, really amazing, and it's a really good time.
Cool. Well, I'm sure we could just spend all day talking about how great CBI is
Yeah.
and have this be a little mini
Plug.
ad plug, yes, for CBI. But Kaitlyn, we actually do want to talk about something in particular with you today.
Yes.
Maybe Hagen, you could explain what that is.
That's code for Jordan's not sure.
I have an idea, but I don't want to get us off in the wrong direction.
Well, I don't mind talking about CBI a little bit more. So, Kaitlyn, if you have if there's some younger person listening and they're not sure what to do after high school, what would be your little pitch to them?
Yeah, so definitely just seeking the Lord on it, because there's so many things that you can do, so many options. But something that a friend had told me when I was considering going and just spending some time and dedicating it to learning about the Bible was that the word does not return void. So there's no way that that's going to be a wasted part of your life. Whatever you learn there, it's going to be brought to remembrance, by the Holy Spirit the rest of your life. You're going to have, those friendships that last, those connections that last. And again, just the word of God in you and that deeper understanding, and that, you're in this like Holy Spirit little bubble here with all these Christians who, you're constantly in the word, you're in worship, you're in fellowship, you're serving. Like, it's just like a perfect storm to continue your growth in the Lord. And so it's just truly amazing. And then just, even if you go and, afterwards you're working construction or you're doing this other thing, like, it's still going to benefit you. But yeah, seeking the Lord, and just also not being like, oh, I need to grow my relationship, so I have to go to Bible college. Like, yes, it's a great place to do that. it's amazing. But, read your Bible and pray every day. Like Pastor Drill, the pastor there says, you can have your relationship with God right now, but it is an amazing time of just getting that understanding from, we had, I think, 85 pastors come out and teach us. So, just that much knowledge about the word, it was truly amazing.
Yeah.
So you were raised in a Christian home, right?
Yes, yeah, I was. I grew up 17 years in North Carolina, and I grew up in a Christian home. I'm very blessed to be raised in a church. We didn't go to a Calvary out there, so it was little heathens actually, but it was kind of like
Baptist.
a mix of I grew up actually Methodist. That's a fun
Whoa.
fact. Yeah,
They're doing very well right now. They just had their convention, actually, their annual convention.
Yes.
And we're not set up electronically to be able to play what happened there, but it's the craziest thing. Literally, they stand up for their thing. Like, hi, my name's so-and-so. My pronouns are they, them. I'm from here, and I'm and anyway, the Methodist Church has gone off the rails, and it's worse than it's ever been.
Yeah.
As evident in the past month. So anyway.
Yeah, it was kind of, had a female pastor, all that kind of stuff. So kind of interesting. So it wasn't obviously all that. I was, still pretty young when we left the church there, and then we started just kind of church shopping around. I ended up, it's kind of like Southern Baptist non-denominational kind of thing. And so, that's where it was a little bit more grounded doctrinally, but we still weren't going through the word. It was, topical every single Sunday, just barely scratching the surface on really anything. It was how to have joy in all circumstances, but it's just pulling from different verses to support what he was saying. And they're very talented preachers, but it just wasn't, I don't know, it's very hard to grow in that situation. So Sunday school, I learned all the Bible stories. I love my Adventures in Odyssey growing up.
Yeah, that's good.
Very homeschooled.
I like Adventures in Odyssey.
Yeah.
It is quality stuff, though.
Yeah, I loved learning the Bible. I loved being at church. Any opportunity there was for me to be there, I would absolutely love to be there. And we ended up, there's a whole bunch of stuff. We got merged into a mega church, and that just wasn't quite the right thing. There was very much not any fellowship. And so we actually left and went to a different church. And there, my youth pastor there started teaching through, he was from Calvary, started teaching through Ephesians, verse by verse, chapter by chapter. And that was just an absolute revelation to me, because I was I had read through the Bible for school and just on my own and that kind of stuff. And I was obviously being 12, I didn't understand what Ephesians was talking about when it's oh yeah, predestined and all this kind of stuff. And so he was explaining some of this stuff, but doctrinally sound stuff. And so it was just that deeper understanding just really awakened this fire in my heart for the word of God. And so soon after that, we actually moved here, started going to Calvary Chapel Salmon.
And was that an easy move, or was it this is ruining my life?
No, it was my senior year. I was not.
It was my senior year of homeschooling. I didn't want to leave. Oh, I didn't have any friends, but.
Oh my word! No, but I thought my church was super good, and so I was I was really sad to leave my church. I was really sad to leave my friends. I did have some, and they were very nice. I liked them a lot, but that was my hometown. I grew up, born and raised there, so it was very, very hard to leave. I was not stoked about it at all, but looking back on it, the Lord absolutely was working through it, and I wouldn't have been able to go to CBI had I not done this. I wouldn't even have been as strong as my faith, because I was just in that kind of stagnant, very hard to move forward kind of thing. So yeah, it was a blessing to be out here. It took me a while to appreciate it, but eventually I did. The church here was a big part of why I was able to adjust, and just being involved and hearing the word of God taught like that every single Sunday, and then eventually I started coming Wednesdays and that kind of stuff. Just so amazing. And youth group and all that kind of stuff was really cool. Yeah, yeah. So I mean, I just loved being at church here. I loved, we did the young disciples over at the middle school. That was a blast. I loved just that taste of teaching and that kind of stuff. And yeah, it was really great. So eventually the Lord did work on my heart, and I appreciate it. But,
yeah. So within the last 10 months of being at CBI, biggest season of growth ever, would you say, in your life? Or
yes, definitely. It's really hard to not grow at CBI if you're a lot of times there's kind of this picture of you either grow or you just
or you die.
Yes. Either I mean, it's kind of like that. You don't die obviously, but you just kind of like, okay, well, I'm not like coming back after break, or like I can't do this, and so you leave or you get kicked out. One of those kinds of things. So it's like,
you
if you're
fight
there,
the forces of CBI.
yeah,
There are people who fight it. Yes.
yeah. But if you're there, like, it's pretty much inevitable. I mean, it's really hard not to, with everything that's just going on, the work that God is doing there, and in all of our hearts there. So.
Yes. And Kaitlyn, you're kind of in an interesting place as far as coming out of CBI, because you're obviously not going to become a senior pastor. Am I right?
I
don't know about your Methodist background.
Yeah, I luckily laid that behind. The Lord
yes,
convicted me
good.
on some of
and
that
you're
stuff.
probably not going to go become a youth pastor or a pastor of any kind, probably. So for ministry, like, what does that look like for you? And like, what's, as of right now, what's God kind of laying on your heart as far as ministry and serving?
Yeah. Like that? So that's what everyone asks when I'm coming out of CBI. So
for sure.
Have a kind of rehearsed answer.
Okay.
Yeah, that's the thing. A lot of people, when they hear that I'm going to Bible college, they'll ask like, "Oh, are you going to be a pastor?" I'm like, "No." And they're like, "Then why are you going?" And I'm just like, it's kind of just funny. But ultimately my goal, I wasn't even sure like I was going to go into ministry afterwards. That is my heart now. That's something that God has placed on my heart. Definitely. I love doing worship, and I went there and I was like, "Lord, don't put me in kids ministry." I got put in kids ministry for both of my practicals.
Whoa.
So I was not happy at first, because I truly had been like starting to really love like the youth group age and like middle and high school. So I was like, oh, like that would be just like super cool and all that kind of stuff. And so I was like, Lord, am I not called to that? Like, just had this whole crisis. But I actually love kids ministry. It's amazing. I love teaching them. I love getting to see it click in their heads, because they're listening, they're understanding, and they're like just starting to understand, who God is and who he can be to you. And it's not like, it's just where they're starting to be like, okay, this is something I'm learning about for myself. It's not just Bible stories.
Yeah.
And so I absolutely loved it. And so I want to do something with kids ministry. I still have a heart for youth ministry. So, not youth pastor per se, but just coming alongside and just supporting and all that kind of stuff. And so I just truly love that. My heart has always been, I want to serve in a church and just do as much as possible. Yeah. So that's kind of, I don't know where that is yet. I'm going to a summer camp called Mount Gilead, and I'm going to be a worship leader out there for the summer. But after that, I have no idea what the Lord has for me.
Well, that's kind of the two things put together, like the camp, the kids, and all that, but then also the worship. So that's cool.
Yeah.
So that would definitely grow you in both of those areas.
Definitely.
Do you know how long you're going to be there, or is it kind of up in the air?
I'm going there. I'll be there on Sunday, and I'll be there for about 2 months or so.
Okay.
Yeah. Because the Lord like kind of showed me like, it was literally like a week before graduation, and I got the call that I got the job before that. I had no idea like if I was gonna get a job, if I was gonna have something to do after CBI. So it was really like I had to just like trust the Lord, because like I had applied like 2 weeks earlier, and I had an interview like 2 days after. So I was like, okay, this is moving really fast. Like, thanks, Lord. And then it was like 2 weeks of just silence and just nothing. And I just really had to and that's really, really hard for me. I like having things planned out and that kind of stuff. So it truly was just like trusting the Lord and letting him guide and knowing that he's going to do it.
And you've actually never even been to this camp, right?
No,
so you
I haven't.
actually know what it looks like, huh?
I've seen videos.
Okay.
Yeah, they came and they
good.
showed a really cool video.
That's good.
when they
Yeah, I know you're not the only person who's going to go there from CBI
Yeah.
from this graduating year.
Yeah.
But you said you had to get approved, or you had to apply and all that. Were there
Yeah.
people who applied and didn't make it?
Oh gosh.
I'm just curious.
Can we name names?
Not name names. I'm
No.
just curious. Like, did that happen?
I don't think so.
Okay,
I think everyone
okay.
who,
Yeah.
I mean, we're all pretty doctrinally sound, so
Okay,
there's
that's
not any
cool.
concerns about
Yeah,
that. I mean,
Yeah. I wasn't sure if they had like a really, really like high bar of like only the best.
well, they accepted me, so
yeah, exactly.
You know.
Well, hey, no, you're up there, Kaitlyn. You're doing good.
Yeah.
So I wasn't sure if there's like some.
No.
We'll take
well,
anyone.
Oh
yeah,
my
yeah,
word.
not like that.
No, but there are, I think, total of 6 of us going out there.
Okay,
So
that's
yeah,
cool.
it's super blessing to still
Yeah.
be connected to some of those people.
Yeah. And California is a cool place to be,
Yeah.
despite what some people might say. It's a cool place.
Yeah. Mom and Dad,
Depends on
it's
what
a cool
part,
place. Very fun stuff.
Yeah. Well, Kaitlyn,
Yes, Jordan.
so
So
there's
not-
something about you that maybe people don't know. Some people
Yeah.
that you struggle with.
Yes.
Maybe physical amenities. Is that how you say it?
Amenities.
Is that the word? Illness.
Yeah. I
Yeah.
have illness.
Illness. Well, not like that. How do you say? How would you put that? Hey, help me out here.
I have health
health
problems.
That's
Yes.
a much better way to say
Yeah.
it. You have health problems.
Yes,
Tell
I
us
do.
about those.
Yeah, so I've struggled with some health issues for about 2 years.
Health issues. That's even
Yes.
better.
Yeah, there are many different terms for
Yeah,
it.
yeah.
We're still trying to figure out exactly everything, but it kind of I'll have in that 2 years I'd have a set of symptoms for 6 months, and we do a bunch of tests, a bunch of all this kind of stuff, and then they'd go away. And it was just okay. But then a new thing comes in. And so I've kind of had that for about 2 years, maybe a little bit longer. It's like when you start having stuff and it's kind of smaller, you don't really realize you have it. And so that was kind of me for a little bit until it got more serious and more life affecting. So that has been something that I've been dealing with for a while. It did rapidly get a lot worse, actually, this last semester of CBI. And before that, I had been diagnosed with Hashimoto's, which is an autoimmune disorder that attacks my thyroid. It's pretty common, but it still affects a lot of people and affects them in life-affecting ways for a lot of times, day to day. So even just going to CBI, I had to get my doctor to be okay, yeah, it's okay. And my parents were worried, and they were the whole time, that kind of stuff. And I eat really funky to try to help all that stuff, so that's been exciting. Shout out to the kitchen staff at CBI. They were absolutely amazing. Love them so much. But yeah, so I kind of went through the first semester of CBI, and it wasn't it was difficult, and I was working in an environment that kind of made my servanthood hours I would do about 8 hours a week or so was in a place that actually just breathing some stuff in actually made stuff work. So I would, after I would leave, I would have a hard time breathing and be oh, that's funky, and all this kind of stuff, and chest pains and stuff, and I just didn't really realize it till the end. So they were really nice, and they did switch my servanthood second semester. But so I was kind of getting through it, I think, because I got through it and was fine, and I didn't have to take any sick days, praise the Lord. But that kind of made it really prideful in my head of I in fact had even said this, I think I'd said this to someone over Christmas break when I came home. I was yeah, I haven't had to take any sick days, and I was placing all the emphasis on me, when it was definitely not me doing it at all. It was definitely the Lord sustaining me through all of it, but I had gotten that. And so the Lord really humbled me in the next season. And so I started having some serious health issues, actually the week before I went back to CBI. And we were just wondering if it was just a fluke, if it was that kind of stuff. I had just been sick, just with regular sickness. And then, so we were okay, well, maybe I'm just having some after effects, that kind of thing. But I actually missed the very first Sunday of the second semester. I had to take a full sick day. So that was really hard, and just Lord, what in the world is going on? Things have been going so well, and it's, and then it started going very, very not well, to where I don't really want to get focused too much in on it, but a lot of times what would happen is I would be passing out and that kind of stuff. And so, that is hard to keep going through CBI life when that's happening. There was a while for 2 weeks where it's happening every single day. And so it was just I'd go to class, I'd try to push through as much as possible, and then I'd just I'd have to go to my room because I just physically could not be there anymore. And so that was, again, really, really humbling and really, really hard. But the Lord did get me through it, and there were so many lessons I learned, but it was an extremely trying time, for sure. But yeah, the Lord definitely had to humble me in that, and I think it was hard because there were kind of two sides of it. There was the humbling side, and then there was the attack of it, because Satan was using it to kind of you can't serve in ministry. You can't make it at CBI. Are you even called here at CBI if you can't do everything? And all this kind of stuff of just you're not worthy to be here. You can't serve him afterwards. I had so many people, especially once it started getting worse, telling me to go home. My parents almost came and got me. There were a bunch of people at CBI. Pastor Daryl told me I should go home after, I was pursuing stuff after, because I knew my heart is to be sent out. And Pastor Daryl came and talked to me, and he was hey, with your health issues, you should probably just go home. And obviously this is just my advice, but you should go home, rest for the summer, that kind of stuff, get some treatment and all that kind of stuff. But so that, and then right after that, he taught his class on being sent out and going out and do the ministry. And every time we made eye contact, I was
confusing me, pal.
Pastor Daryl, this is, and so I was just again, I felt even just a hypocrite being there, because I was these things don't even apply to me. Like, I can't do these things. And so it was really just like, again, like that kind of focusing on me. And that's where, like, something that a lot of pastors say when they come and they talk about humility isn't thinking less of yourself, it's thinking of yourself less. And so it's not like, okay, you're focusing on yourself and I can't do this and I can't do this and I'm so unworthy and all these things. It's like, yes, I have these things, but the Lord is still using me, and that's something that the Lord spoke to my heart. And so, like, it hurt having like Pastor Joe come and say those things. I know he was doing it out of love and out of wanting me to not be passing out every day and that kind of stuff. But the Lord had already been speaking to my heart before that, of saying, like, I don't have to wait to use you until you're healed. Like, I can use you in the condition that you are, and I'll get all the more glory. Actually, the verse that he gave me was in 2 Corinthians chapter 12. Talks about Paul here, and he says in chapter 12, verse 7, "And lest I should be exalted above measure by the abundance of the revelations, a thorn in the flesh was given to me, a messenger of Satan to buffet me, lest I be exalted above measure. Concerning this thing I pleaded with the Lord 3 times that it might depart from me. And he said to me, my grace is sufficient for you. My strength is made perfect in weakness. Therefore, most gladly, I will rather boast in my infirmities, that the power of Christ may rest upon me. Therefore, I take pleasure in infirmities and reproaches and needs and persecutions and distresses for Christ's sakes. For when I am weak, then I am strong." And that was something really Lord had to show me of, like, you're not limiting God by your limitations. God is going to work through you. Like the sermon that you taught yesterday, talking about how the people that God uses are weak and foolish and base and all of those things. And that's like the Lord showing me, like, this is what you are. And I kind of like gotten to this point where, like, I had cried out way more than 3 times and just like, Lord, like, I know, like, you're sovereign through all this, and I know that you're working. Like, there wasn't a point where I was doubting, like, okay, like, is the Lord even, like, still, all this kind of stuff. I knew it was, like, the Lord's working through it and that there was a purpose in it. And so that really, and, like, he was just showing me things that even I was learning through it, and that's just so, so important. But he really tried to show me, like, my grace is sufficient for you. My strength is made perfect in your weakness. Whatever you can do, it's going to be all the more glorified, because you know that you didn't do it in your own strength. You know that you can't, and it's only the Lord. And so that was really important for me to learn, because I had been, like, kind of crying out to the Lord the day before and just been like, actually, I'd been praying for someone else who has health problems at CBI. And, like, this is the verse that, like, that he gave me to speak to that person. And then the next day I was crying out to the Lord, and I was like, Lord, I, like, could be so much more effective in ministry if I didn't have these things, because at CBI you see how everyone else can serve, you see how all these things happen, and I'm over here and I had to take time off from servanthood because I just physically couldn't keep up with the schedule, and I couldn't do this kind of thing, and I'd have to go home from this event because I just physically couldn't be there and all that kind of stuff. And so seeing that, I was just like, Lord, I could be so much more effective in ministry for you if I didn't have these things. And I was crying out to the Lord for that, and he was like, remember that verse that you prayed over that person the night before? My grace is sufficient in your weakness. This isn't about you or how much you can do for me. This is about the glory that I receive through this. And another thing that he kind of showed me through that is, even though, like, I was saying, Lord, I can be so much more effective in ministry for you, he was saying, you don't need to be. And that was a weird thing for me. I was like, Lord, what in the world? And he was like, I don't need you to do this and this and this for me. That's the kind of mindset I've gotten about serving, is like, Lord, at CBI, like, we do a lot for the church and that kind of stuff. Like, we're, like, helping set up friends, and, like, we're doing a lot in children's ministry, and we're serving all over the church. Like, you go around and you see CBI students serving, and so a lot of times it's like, okay, Lord, like, you need us to go do this, and you need us to go do that. And it was like this, again, like, this truly humbling thing of, I don't need you to go do that. Like, I think we use this example a lot in giving, but the Lord doesn't need us to give financially. Same thing with serving. The Lord doesn't need us to serve. Like, we do that for the blessing that we get from it. And again, like, we're called to do that, so we should. But it's not like, okay, Lord, like, I need to go do this for you. I need to go do this for you, because the Lord isn't dependent upon what I can do. And so just realizing that, and, it brings to mind, like, that thing in Esther where it's like, Esther, if you don't go and do this, salvation for the Jews will rise out of somewhere else. Yeah. And so it's just like realizing that for the time, obviously Esther got the blessing because in that she saved her family. But just realizing that for that time, the Lord was having me more so just resting in that time and leaning upon him. And, in that time of, I didn't have servanthood. I'd actually been praying before, like, Lord, just like help me like find more time to like even just be with you and pray like to you and that kind of stuff. And then I got like an extra 8 hours a week where I could be in my word, I could be praying and that kind of stuff, and truly resting and that kind of stuff. It kind of reminds me of 1 Kings 19, where Elijah had just been chased by Jezebel, and he's like freaking out. He's over here and he's like, God, like, why am I in this spot? And the Lord, at first, he gives him some food. He gives him some, something to drink. And then he gives him, just like this sleep. And so the Lord was in that kind of time of like, okay, eat, drink, and sleep. Just rest up, be built back up
Amen.
physically. And
There you
so
go.
I was in that kind of time period where I just had to rest. And that's not something I really enjoy doing a whole lot. I like being busy. I like, going out and serving with people and being with people and that kind of stuff. And so that was really hard. But the Lord did that. And after that, God, came to him in that small voice. And then he sent him out and he gave him another project to go do. And so I was like, okay, be built up, hear my voice, then go out and do this stuff. So it was truly that time of being built up in the Lord and all that kind of stuff. But yeah, another thing that just really got me through that was just knowing that everything's for a purpose. In 2 Peter, is it 1 Peter? 1 Peter, in chapter 1, verse 6, it talks about, in this you greatly rejoice, though now for a little while, if need be, you have been grieved by various trials. And so just knowing that what I was going through was for a purpose. It's not outside of what God has for me and what God is using it for, and all that stuff. Just looking back on, again, how much it did truly humble me in a godly way, and even just relying on other people. I don't really like to do that. I'm very independent, and I like to have everything that like kind of in my control. And the Lord was like, this physically can't be in your control. So I had to rely on people helping to take care of me, and I had to rely on just others for that, and be open and vulnerable with people because it was out in the open and that kind of stuff. And so just that, but also
Some people have the opposite problem, right? Like they like people taking care of them, and they like not get. You have the mindset of, I want to do the work, I want to be busy, I want to do these things, and some people. So, which is interesting, but you're just like the strong, independent.
I was definitely not strong at that
well,
time.
but you just want to do it, and that's
I
cool.
definitely wanted to be, and it was kind of like a hard balance, honestly, because, I found myself like also relying on certain people too much and putting too much on them that I should have been taking to the Lord instead. So just like this balance of, like you need to rely on the people that God has given you, but at the same time, like don't have that reliance be over your reliance on God. And so that was like, again, something that was really difficult learning, and just how to like kind of navigate through that. But the Lord definitely like showed me all of those things as well. But
wow. Would you say there was like a progression in like your thinking about your sickness, and not your sickness, your health issues? Like you now come to a place where you've seen them as like something that God uses so he can get the glory in you serving, and something that maybe will like slow you down so you can spend more time with him. But like, have you always kind of thought about like this, or have you kind of like, what's been the progression of you thinking about it?
Definitely. A lot of it is like, at first was a huge self-pity party, because it's just like, and it's such a comparison game, because I'm supposed to be in like the peak of life, I'm young, like all this stuff, and I'm like over here and I'm having to like sleep for so long, and I'm having to like eat this certain way and not be able to go out and do stuff with friends because I'm like too tired or I can't.
When you say eat a certain way, can you describe to us what your diet is? Because it is just like pretty limited, right?
Yeah, I went through a couple different stages. The most severe one, my doctor said I should go carnivore, which is just eating meat for 3 months. I made it 36 hours, and that's all I could do. I was like, this is so boring. I hate it. So I added in fruit and like some coconut products and that kind of stuff, but like that was it for probably like 2 or 3 months. I've been on an autoimmune paleo, which is grain-free, dairy-free, soy-free, nut-free, egg-free, tomato-free, chocolate-free.
So
I could go on.
Vegetables.
Yeah.
What can you eat?
Yeah, there are actually a lot of vegetables I couldn't even eat. I couldn't have like peppers or anything like that either.
Wow.
Potatoes. Now I'm on a regular paleo diet, which is a little bit more. I can have some stuff, but it's still no grains, gluten, dairy, soy, and those are the main ones, but still no potatoes. But yeah.
So at first you were like angry at God, kind of,
Yeah,
or
like
like
it's
God,
like,
why me?
yeah, it's really just like, I don't know. It's just so hard because like, that's what it's designed to be. It's designed to, test and that kind of stuff. But it's just like, again, like why in the world? Like, I don't see the point. And then another like problem I had was, okay, I know God is using this to teach me something, so I just need to learn this really fast. It'll go away. And especially like in CBI, like that's a lot of things of like, okay, I need to like learn this humility, and then as soon as I do, like it'll be gone. And like that's not what happened. And
Yeah.
so it was just I had to come to this point of, okay, Lord, like you're teaching me, I'm learning through this, but even if I have this for the rest of my life, I'm going to surrender to you and believe you enough to have just this trust and surrender up whatever you want to do with me for the rest of my life. So it's not like, okay, I'm going to trust you in this until I learn my lesson, and then God's going to set me free from this, all this kind of stuff. And it's no, like this could be the rest of my life, and I'm okay with that, and I have peace with that because the Lord is with me, and the Lord is going to strengthen me and equip me for what he wants me to do.
Wow.
Yeah, when you were talking about it earlier, I liked how you mentioned, I think it was when you went back after Christmas and it got like more ramped up, how you said something along the lines of how you like realized like it was the Lord working through it, but then how like Satan was also kind of working through it.
Yeah.
And I think that's a good balance of anything, but especially like illness or physical infirmities, because the one extreme is that anything that happens to me that doesn't feel good must be from Satan automatically. The other extreme is that God is striking people with these illnesses, but it's probably way more in the middle. And it's like, was God like, I'm going to give Kaitlyn this? Probably not. It's probably genetic. It's probably all sorts of things that add up to this. God is allowing it though. And then it's almost like whether if it's used by God or Satan, it's kind of up to you.
Yeah.
Like you're in charge of, this is either a thing that's used to condemn me, to demobilize me for serving the kingdom of God, or this is something that I'm going to choose to look at and use to grow deeper in my relationship with the Lord.
Yeah.
Definitely.
Yeah, I like that you said like you felt if I just learn this lesson and it'll go away, and obviously we were taught and we know that like sickness isn't because of sin. Like we're kind of familiar with that as at least most Christians should be. Like we know that just because someone's sick doesn't mean there's some gross sin in their life, but we still had that like of reactions like, okay, I have this sickness, I must learn a lesson, I must do something, I must fix something. Maybe not like sin in particular, but I need to do something to get rid of this sickness. And like how we always look to ourselves to solve the problem. We're always thinking, okay, what can I do? I need to do something. That's interesting. That was your gut reaction at first.
Yeah.
But yeah, you changed that, which is cool. Was there another stage between God, why me, and where you're at now, kind of, or is it just kind of like growing out of that over time?
Yeah, it really just was like a day by day. Truly the biggest thing that like changed that was just surrender. Like, it was, constantly taught and stuff at CBI, but again, like you have it taught and then you have to live it and you have to practice it and you have to, all that kind of stuff. And so it truly was this like daily surrender, and it's not like that because of that, like I went like this, like a lot of times it was like up and down, like crazy stuff. I'd be totally at peace with it one day, and then the next day I would just be like just so downcast and just like, Lord, I just still don't get it. Like it's been so long and all that kind of stuff. But something that my roommate actually encouraged me with was she's like, when you're surrendering it, you're laying it on the altar to God, and your tendency is you lay on the altar, like, I'll be at like Sunday night church and we're having like, a really good message that I get to, sit through and that kind of stuff. And I'm not like, really serving or anything. So I just get to be there and be present. And then we have like this time of worship after and all these kinds of things. And it's just like, I'm there and I'm having this experience and like, I'm surrendering it to God. And it's not that it's all just emotions. That's truly what I feel in my heart. But sometimes it's harder when the next day when it's a Monday and it's a long day and I'm like trying to get through all of it and I'm still having problems, and I'm just like, Lord. And she said, that's when you're going to the altar and you're trying to pick it back up. And so every time that you realize you're going to pick it up, lay it at the altar. And so that's something that was really important, was it's not just like, God, I surrender this to you. It's hourly, daily, sometimes like every single second, I'm just like, God, I surrender it to you. Like you're in control and you're using it. And I trust you in that. And I don't love how you're doing it, but I know that it's necessary. If need be, this is how you're doing it. And I need this. I need to be taught in this way. I'm not going to get it another way. I understand that's why you're doing it. And so just really, knowing that God isn't, again, just doing this because of like, I don't have enough faith, or I don't have this kind of thing. Like that's another hard thing, is like you get prayed over so many times for this kind of stuff. And, a lot of people are good about not doing this, but some people still do, of like, Lord, like if we just have enough faith, you're going to do it.
Sure.
And then it's just like, well, Lord, do I not have enough faith? Cause like I've been dealing with this for so long, and it's like so hard, but it's just sometimes that's not how the Lord works. There's people who have chronic illnesses for the rest of their life. There are people, who have this first season and then it gets better, but it's not always like, I know that's the God that I serve, is he can take it away at any moment. But in that season, he did not.
And it's cool that it's not even like the second that you accept that you'll be okay with having it for the rest of your life, God's like, okay, now that's the lesson. Now I'll take it away. Because that's how I would think about it. It's like, I just need to be okay with this for the rest of my life. And then God will take it. That's what I would think.
I know. And that's it's hard, because like in the back of my head when I was saying that, I was like, okay, Lord, like I'm good now.
Yeah, exactly.
This is all good. But
people tell those stupid testimonies about that when it comes to like getting married. Like, as soon as I was content in my singleness, God brought me the one. It's like, shut up. Like,
my
don't
word.
even
That kind of happened to me, though.
Okay.
Yeah, I know. There's a reason why I'm telling that story.
I think there's like,
I mean, it can happen. It just doesn't always happen. Yeah.
I don't know. I would disagree on that a little bit, because a lot of times, like when you're in that spot, it's like truly of like, okay, like, Lord, I'm content in my singleness. I'm like, okay, well now like the Lord's gonna give me someone. But at the same time, like when you're not content in your singleness, then like you're seeking after this stuff and you have so much higher of an emphasis on it than if you're content in the Lord. So it's just, I don't know, at least just being content in the Lord.
But that's a big deal, like actually being okay with this for the rest of your life. Like that's crazy.
Yeah.
Like there's so many people who, that's crazy.
Yeah.
That's really, really
And
insane.
actually, praise the Lord, I haven't had any symptoms for the past month.
Oh, wow.
So that has been a major blessing. Again, that like wasn't like the day before I was like, okay, Lord, like the rest of my life. No, I declared it to the Lord, and I still dealt with it for a long time.
So there's still like this unpredictability to your what's going on.
It could completely come back. There could be something that could like come up that's completely new, because a lot of times like I'll have something for a couple months and then it goes away and then there's a new something. So it's not like, there's not, obviously with anyone, there's not 100% guarantee that you're like good for the rest of your life, but it has been like the longest time that I haven't had this in like 4 or 5 months. So it has been this huge blessing. And even just, I really didn't want my parents to have to see me like, like that and all that kind of stuff. And so that was just a huge blessing, and being able to come back here and drive and stuff and be okay. And even just being sent out to this next area and all that kind of stuff, but still trusting the Lord. Like I could have another like episode today, and I, obviously it'd be hard, but I'd still trust the Lord in it, because my, again, my surrender, my trust in God doesn't depend on my circumstances either, because it doesn't change who God is. My, how I'm doing on, all that kind of level does not change the God I serve and what he's called me to do and who he is to me. So.
Yeah, that's cool.
So you're leaving this Sunday for that?
I'm leaving this Thursday.
Oh,
yeah.
wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I'm going to a friend's wedding, and then I'm driving out there. So.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, we'll pray for you Wednesday night then.
Yeah,
Yes.
thanks.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yes. Cool.
That's cool.
Sorry, just dealing with some business in my head when I was thinking about her schedule.
Yes. We'll definitely
When she
pray
said
for it.
sent out, I was just like, we'd love to pray for you before you go, but
And you're doing worship here Wednesday?
Yep.
Right, that's
Yeah.
cool. Cool.
It's a blessing.
Yeah. Huh. And that's cool that you're able to go to California with the confidence, like even if you do have an episode there, like you'll be okay, and God will get you through it. So that's cool. Like that's not like a big fear in the back of your mind, like, oh no, what if this happens? Like you're able to.
Yeah, because I kind of realized, like, again, like a lot of how I realized kind of more spiritual attack on my life is, and we had a pastor who would talk about this, Pastor Mark.
I do like Pastor
used the
Mark.
verse, as a man thinks in his heart, so he is. So that's like, as a man
Amen.
thinks,
Facts.
your thoughts in his heart, that's your feelings as he is. So it goes thoughts, feelings, actions.
Mm.
So just like at first, like, what is the thought that is being put in my mind of like, I can't do this. I can't, I'm having these issues that makes me feel insignificant and unworthy to do these things, and like I physically can't. And then that ultimate action, every single spiritual attack, well, I don't know about everyone, but most of them, the objective is Satan wants me to quit. And so it's, he doesn't want me to go where I know God's calling me for this next season. He doesn't want me to stay at CBI and keep learning about him. He doesn't want me to go to this camp and serve and all of these things. So just like realizing, okay, like, is this what the Lord is telling me? And that, time, the Lord had definitely been showing me through verses he was giving me and that kind of stuff, that no, like, I'm going to work through this and get the glory. And that's going to be part of your testimony. That's something you can share with others and give them comfort because I have comforted you. So.
Cool.
What do you have, like, a best memory from CBI? Or are there just, like, so many, or is there, like, one that's like, oh, wow, that was just, like, so cool?
That is so hard because, like, that 10 months is packed. Like, I'm just, like, trying to think of just one, and there are just, like, so many that come to mind. There are cool experiences of, growing in worship and getting to have those opportunities come up. We would go, there's sometimes we take like small groups and we go to do worship at other churches, and like that bonding time is super, and that's not even, really technically at CVI, but, and just like the fun fellowship there, like, you're doing just stuff on the weekends with people, and just like after service you come and like you just gather and talk to people and that kind of stuff. I'm trying to think of like a good funny moment. There's so many.
Any pranks?
Any pranks? Oh gosh.
Goofy pranks.
Like
making Joel stay up all night to see if you can catch him. No, we won't talk about that later.
Oh wow. I have this video too on my phone. It's so funny. Galilee for April Fools. He's our academic intern. He took pictures. So do you know David Enos? Do you know David Enos? Yeah. So he's our director at CBI. Very much not a Calvinist. Yeah.
As
so
it
he
should be.
Yeah, he does not like any of that stuff. All very adamant about it. And so obviously still loves him in Christ and all that kind of stuff, but just not very too hyped about it. So Galilee took these, he printed out a ton of pictures of John Calvin, and he went in David's office, and he, over every single picture David had in his office, including the ultrasound of his baby girl, put John Calvin on there.
Wow. That's
it
funny.
was so funny. Yeah.
You really think that's funny, Hagen? Like, that's funny.
My word.
Anyone ever does that to me,
Yeah.
out of here.
Yeah, that's good.
Dang.
I remember one of my best memories in the past even 5 years.
Hagen, what's one of your best memories in the past 5 years?
Yeah, I never even attended CBI as a student, but not
Yeah.
this last time, but the time before that I was down there. It was a September, and they were just fresh. I like going down when everyone's fresh. I went in January when they were fresh. I went in September when they were fresh. And we did like a worship night at the courtyard.
Yes,
and like
those are good.
I think back on that regularly, and it's been almost probably a year and a half, 2 years now. And it was just such a cool experience to be surrounded by 40, 50 young adults who are just pursuing Jesus, and you're just worshiping him, and you're just outside, there's no stage, there's no lights, there's no microphone.
Right.
It's just some people with a guitar that are super talented. Then you're just pursuing the Lord, and people praying for each other in different like words that were given. Like it was super cool for me. So like that kind of stuff happens a lot.
Yeah.
And even just like maybe at the common area, people just be like worshiping.
Yeah.
So like that's the stuff I envy as a guy who didn't get the experience and then like gets to see little glimpses on Instagram, like that community and camaraderie that you get to have like every day. And that's the bubble of CBI that it's popped when you come back into the real world. It's like not everyone's pursuing Jesus like you, and you have to kind of learn to reacclimate into a world that's just different.
Yeah.
Yes.
That's like, I think honestly, like obviously every part of CBI is great, but like for me, my favorite part is the fellowship because, it's not just like 40 or 50 people that like, oh yeah, like we're Christians kind of stuff, but they're all chasing after the Lord so hard. They're all on fire for the Lord so much because like, again, it is a lot easier in that bubble to be, but at the same time, like, you are worshiping, you are like constantly praying over one another and just receiving prayer, and it's just amazing. But yeah, there's always music in the halls. People are singing as they're walking and doing dishes, and there's almost always worship going on. I do wish we had done like those kinds of things, the worship nights, more often. But we'd still just like, okay, after church, let's meet out in the courtyard if whoever wants to worship. And we do like that kind of stuff a lot. So it's definitely a super huge blessing that the Lord definitely uses.
It is completely unique. You never get anything else like it.
Yeah.
Jordan, what's a highlight in your last 5 years?
Oh yeah.
Getting married.
Oh wow, good
Yes.
answer.
Yep.
Good answer.
Best decision I ever made.
Okay.
For sure. Yep. And she's really pretty. What else do you want me to say? And what? She's really smart too. Who? Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Yep.
Good.
Honestly, I've been out of that like for a week, and I just like came back, and I was like my parents had gone to run errands, and I was like all by myself at my house. I was like, I haven't been alone like this in like months, because you're never. Like, it's just really weird.
Yeah.
But
There's always people. Yeah.
I know a lot of people talk about, like, because it can be hard to, as you're going CBI and you're leaving that environment to, people will come back and say, like, I used fellowship as a crutch. And so, like, they leave and they have to, all that kind of stuff. And obviously, it's a huge help to have that fellowship and that encouragement around. And, I think it's a really great picture of even the early church and all that kind of stuff. But you leave that and you have to just fully depend on the Lord, because you can't depend on your fellow students anymore, because
they're
not
there. Yes.
But
Yeah.
I am glad the Lord's kind of easing me out of that, because like I'm going to this camp where, again, like there are going to be a lot of people my age who are seeking the Lord, and CBI people there. So
Yeah, and the other thing that, as an outsider, that I'm envious of is just those friendships you made that just last forever. And it's like, I know Jordan has a few people
For sure.
that he stays really close to, and some of them I've been able to grab a hold of, like Ryan,
Yeah.
and some of these guys that, even though they never came to Salmon, I feel like I've gotten to kind of pour into their lives a little bit and continue on with their future, whatever it looks like, with them serving the Lord. So I just think that's really neat that you make friends for eternity in that 10 months, and then you get just scattered across sometimes the globe.
Yeah.
And it's like you got someone in Idaho and someone in Florida and someone in Utah and someone in California. And it's like you just have that. And it's just really cool having that with like stuff we're doing in ministry. So like we're going on a mission trip here in like a week and a half to Mexico, and we're getting one of your classmates to come and intern with us this summer, Josh John,
Yeah.
and we'll have him on probably next week's episode, because he'll be here.
Oh, fun.
And but you guys have a classmate that's from Mexico that graduated with you, so like we're gonna meet up with him in Mexico. And there's just a connection that's made, and like I just love those connections and like networking and how it works in like ministry, because you just never know. And it's like, oh, I'm flying into Florida, I now have a friend in Florida that I know I can stay with. Or you're doing something in Mexico and you can connect with the church down there, and it's just 100% relational. It's not because it's not organizational, it's not religious, it's just like, oh wow, this is just relational, and now we have a friend there and eyes on the ground, and we can support them in very real ways in which they need. And I just love that idea. So
yeah, it's actually cool that kind of like came up of like, one of my friends, like road tripping back, like stopped at like 7 people's churches on the way back from CBI, and for me,
was it Henry?
Yeah,
because he never came here, did he?
I know.
It's
He
okay.
was
Henry, if you're
here.
listening, I forgive you. But I was just waiting up all night that Monday night for you to text me, and you never did. So
Wow. But anyways, I'm moving on from that bitterness. But yeah, Henry, he says he wants to come when Josh is here, so he might still be stopping by. But
see, and that's a weird thing I do when I travel, and I don't know that a lot of people do this, but like there's nothing I love more than visiting other churches.
Yeah,
so like
it's so
every
cool.
time, like I plan where I'm staying based upon churches. So it's like I went to this place and I want to check out this church, and I've kind of seen these people online, and I want to watch how they do things, and I want to meet this pastor. And I just love whenever I travel swinging in at places. So yeah,
it's cool. I actually get to stay on my way to Gilead. It's too far to go in one day. And so I'm actually staying. I was like, oh, I'm going to stop in like Reno because it's like, about the amount of time I want to go. And we were looking at hotels and they're like $200. And I was like, oh, Lord, like this is so much. And then I was like, I know 3 people from CBI in Reno. So I'm staying with one of them
Well, there
on
you
the
go.
way there. Yeah.
Nice.
So just cool. Don't have to worry about hotels.
So what town is Mount Gilead like close to, or what region of California?
I'm
Do you
going to
know?
say this wrong. I need to look up. I keep saying Sebastopol, and that's definitely
That's
not right.
Okay.
Sebastopol?
Yeah.
Sebastopol.
That's I don't. Oh
Jordan
gosh.
just keeps repeating the wrong answer.
She's going to Sebastopol. Sebastopol?
Oh gosh. How do you say that? That town there?
Oh, it's an S, not a T. Sebastopol. If only we had someone from California in the room who could tell us. Avery, do you know how to say this?
It's like an hour and a half from San Francisco.
North or south?
Do you not know how to say it?
North-ish.
Okay, so it's in Northern California.
Yeah, it's definitely
North-ish?
Northern California. It's by Redwoods, I think.
Okay, yeah,
Yeah.
that's cool.
Yeah. So. That'll
And
be exciting.
so you just have like each week you have a different crop of kids coming in to do their summer
Yeah.
camp type deal.
Yeah. Everyone. Like it's kind of like you have high school comes one week, then you have middle school, they come another week. Then you have 4th through 6th another week. We have like kind of a half week with 1st through 3rd grade, and then it starts over again. High school, middle, and then 4th through 6th.
Oh.
So
That's awesome.
yeah.
Just all summer long?
yeah,
Sheesh.
9 weeks. So 7 weeks of camp, but
Nice.
I'll be there for 9 weeks. So yeah.
God bless you.
Thanks. Need it.
You'll be near the...
One thing I wish I could have done as well is I love summer camps.
Yeah.
Like to be a camp counselor would always be cool. I love doing, even though it's like super stressful and stuff, like VBSs. Like if I wasn't established and called as a senior pastor, like to just travel around to different cities and like put on VBSs or like do summer camps. Like I
Yeah.
just love that stuff.
Yeah.
They are fun.
I'm jealous of you, Kate.
I think we should start a camp up here. There's no like summer camp thing that's
Chalice
in Salmon.
Is like an hour away though.
Would this Chalice have like a...
Well, Living
Water,
Waters,
the one we went to last
Oh,
year.
but like
that's
a...
like a facility.
like a
You're talking more
facility,
of
but like a camp, like a week, like what you're describing.
Yeah.
Like kids come for a week, and
and
it's,
you have these counselors.
yeah,
that
you have
work
these
there.
counselors
Yeah.
that work there. Like there's nothing around this area, and you would think that there would be. Like we're in this beautiful area. There's
Yeah.
like towns all around, but like, we could get kids from Idaho Falls to come up. I don't know, but
Whoa,
that's
maybe
just me.
something to pray about.
Yeah.
huh?
I think we
Yeah.
should do it.
What could we call it?
Camp-
River of No Return.
Camp Sebastopol. I don't know. Come up with that.
Oh,
River of No.
gosh.
That's actually kind of cool. River of No Return.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I
Mm.
love Calvary Chapel Salmon, but if we ever change the name of our church, I'd call it River of No Return Christian Fellowship, because that's like the name of the Salmon River.
Christian church. You mean?
Christian Fellowship.
We're a church though.
Yeah, but it's like for some reason, like if you're a Calvary Chapel, but you don't use the term Calvary Chapel, you use the term Christian Fellowship.
Yeah,
Like
what is with
Applegate
that?
Christian Fellowship, Harvest Christian Fellowship.
Huh.
It's just like a thing.
That's what they do.
So,
Yeah.
Okay.
yeah.
Well, I think we're gonna start a summer camp.
That'd be cool.
Yeah. Well, you could come with your experience. You could come help
Yeah.
us.
Well, she'll start it for us next year. There you
Yeah,
There you
I
go.
might
Now we
one,
just need a
one
place.
summer as a worship
I
leader.
think
and
we
can
could get a
start
place
camp.
somewhere.
I like your
Yeah.
confidence.
Yeah.
Yeah. If anyone listening has a couple hundred acres out in the forest that they'd love
Couple
for us to build
cabins.
cabins on,
Yeah.
let us know.
Just build a couple cabins, have an archery range.
Paintball, archery,
Yeah.
climbing wall, lake.
The
These are
Goliath
the only
swing,
things
like
Yeah,
we
we
those
just need a
little
lake, yeah.
swings.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It'll be
Zip
fun.
lines.
Zip lines. We
Yeah.
don't need a zip line.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Zip lines are essential.
You really don't need too much. Like there's a million games you can play with a field and a ball.
Ultimate anything.
Ultimate anything.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
Good.
I would be passionate about that too. That would be a lot of fun.
Okay.
So, well, hey, this has been fun.
Yeah,
It's been
thanks
a
guys
good-
for
it's a
having
good
me.
episode,
time.
yeah. Caitlin, I'm glad you decided to jump on the podcast with us today. And,
Yeah.
Thanks for
Yes.
having me.
Um,
Appreciate
yeah,
it.
we're excited for this next season, and it's cool to see what you're doing. And obviously, 3 months from now, you have no clue what you're doing.
Yeah.
But God's brought you this far, so
Yeah.
obviously He's got a plan for your life.
Amen.
And I think I speak on behalf of Jordan and myself as we say that we're just super proud of you for going to CBI and graduating, and that you're continuing to serve the Lord. So Thank you for being the first kid from Salmon that we sent to CBI.
Not even a native.
And you kind of broke the glass ceiling with that. And there's several that'll be following behind you within the next year to 2 years, which I'm excited about as well. It just really fits in with my desire and my heart of not just sending kids, but being able to bring people and serve here and intern here. So this accomplishes having kids go to CBI and then having John come here for the summer. And I just want to continue that cycle, hopefully for decades to come. So, yeah.
Right on.
Not everyone gets to stay.
Not
Very
everyone.
few special people get to stay. But we want a lot of people to come through. Yes.
For sure. And if you would like to, if you're watching this and you'd like to pray for Kaitlyn, come tomorrow or Wednesday. Well,
This isn't going to work. The timing
never
of
mind.
production.
I apologize.
By the time you listen to this, Kaitlyn's going to be
She's
on
gone.
the road.
Yeah.
Yep. So
I'll
pray
be-
for her.
but
when
pray
you-
for me. You can just pray for
her
me without
still.
being
Yeah,
seeing
yeah.
me. So I appreciate
Sorry,
it. There
the
were definitely a lot of
time's
prayers
weird.
lifted up for me in CBI, and that was
Yes.
a huge blessing and something I really appreciated. So
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, we'll definitely be praying for you, Kaitlyn.
aw, thanks guys. We're
Yes,
praying for you
yes.
guys too.
For sure. Thank you. Well, happy Memorial Day, everyone.
Yeah, America.
Yeah.
Catch you later. Thanks for watching the Calvary Chapel Salmon podcast. See ya.
See ya.
Bye.